Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And as you can see by the opening photos, I'll be talking about pineapple weed. So I also just harvested a whole bunch from the garden. I actually have a lot growing this year that I didn't plant, but I was thrilled to see it taken off all over in the garden. Now it's called pineapple weed because a lot of people think of it as a weed, is one reason. Now it's a botanical name I will go ahead and put down here. I haven't quite figured out how to pronounce it yet, so I'm just going to put it in text so you can see what it looks like, so you can look it up for yourself. But you can also look it up in your browser by simply putting pineapple weed. It's also known as wild chamomile. Now, if you look closely, you can see that the leaves resemble chamomile. The whole plant looks much like chamomile, but here is a mature flower. Let me find some more. Here's a more mature flower. You can see right here, that's the most it's going to get for petals. So unlike the chamomile, it doesn't get these longer white petals. That's it right there. So most of what you're getting out of your pineapple weed is going to be in this part here. That's the flower. Now, the other reason it's referred to as pineapple weed is that it does have a very nice pineapple type aroma to it. And I mean, I love the smell of it. And the flavor is somewhat like pineapple as well. Some people might equate it with just apples. It also, as I showed you in that close-up there, a lot of the flowers, they'll turn more yellow than that, and they will look quite a bit like a pineapple. And so it's just a very fitting name for it. But again, wild chamomile is also another name for it. And it does have a lot of similar properties that chamomile has because it is used as a sedative. I've used it in a tea at night and found it to be very calming, very relaxing. And I'm going to go ahead and read off to you some of the other things that it is beneficial for. This is just stuff that I compiled together like I did with my sage video. Now, unfortunately, I could not find pineapple weed, wild chamomile, or even going by its Latin or botanical name, I could not find it anywhere in any one of my herb books. So I had to do some research online. I had read about it years ago and was hoping, I knew it was a wild edible, but I was hoping to be able to grow more of it, and without even trying, it just finally took off for the first year in my garden. And that's great because chamomile doesn't grow as well in our area as the pineapple weed. The pineapple weed will grow wild, where chamomile, it just doesn't do so well. I had a couple chamomile plants. They did okay for a while, but they died and didn't come back. Now, on to the medicinal and health benefits of the pineapple weed. For digestive disorders such as irritable bowel syndrome, also known as IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcers, nausea, diarrhea, and heartburn. So in this case, I could see using it more as a tea. It's good for menstrual pain, postpartum anemia, things related to childbirth, such as the building up of blood right there just before delivery, and in aiding in delivering the placenta. It's also very good for helping a mom produce good, healthy milk for her baby. I already mentioned it being used as a mild sedative and for a sleep aid. It's just really good for that, just like chamomile would be. It also has antibacterial, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, and antiviral properties, which would also tell me it could be helpful in easing pain, though I didn't find anything specific, I'm sure it's out there, about it being an analgesic. Oftentimes you'll find that when something's anti-inflammatory, it also can be helpful with pain, especially if the pain is a result of inflammation. So you can see how that would be, those of you who have lots of digestive issues, with the anti-inflammatory properties that it has, as well as all these other things, it can be really good for your digestion, I think, and your gut health in general. Topically, it can be used for helping with sunburns or other types of burns, skin infections, scrapes, cuts, and even as an insect repellent, which I also believe it would be good for helping with bug bites as well. So there is just a brief list of the benefits of pineapple weed. All right, one thing I tend to fail to talk about quite a bit, and I don't do it intentionally. I just forget to write down the notes about this because I get excited about the benefits of herbs that I tend to overlook the warnings that you should consider. Now, again, I didn't write them down. However, please make sure to look this herb up for yourself, especially if you are thinking of using it for your children, if you are pregnant, and if you are on any kind of medication. Those are the things that you typically have to watch out for, you know, the situations when it comes to using any kind of herbs. Now, another thing to consider when it comes to medicinal or even culinary herbs that have medicinal and health properties is that a lot of times the warnings refer to consuming large amounts of these things. Now, typically when it comes to herbs, especially medicinal herbs, we're not consuming large amounts at a time. Like one time a while back, I had somebody, this was years ago, long before I started YouTube, and I was really looking into different herbs and roots and all the benefits of them. And I put on and each day on my Facebook, I would put, I'd pick an herb and put all the benefits there were, and this would be compiling this information together. And somebody came in and said, I was doing one on horseradish, and somebody came in and said, raw horseradish can be toxic in large quantities. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not one to eat raw horseradish in large quantities, even though I love horseradish. And I don't know of anyone else who does that either. But at any rate, when you look it up, it took me pages and pages and pages to find any warning about horseradish being toxic. And again, it was only in large quantities, and it was a tiny little note at the bottom of a page. Now, I look at it this way. You've got your pharmaceuticals that have a list this long of indications of warnings, and then maybe this much of how it might actually help, maybe, with whatever it is you're using it for. But when it comes to herbs, you might have a list this long of all the many benefits with the possibility of it causing some kind of reaction. So take these things into consideration, but also remember to look at these warnings because they can be very important depending on your situation, who you are, if you're on any medications, and so on. Let's talk a little bit about how you can use it. Typically, most people will only use the flower in the tea. But the leaves are edible too, and this might be hard to find, but they are. I use them. I'll actually throw, when I make a pot of tea using the fresh pineapple weed, I'll just throw clusters like this into the tea, and it makes a wonderful tea, especially if you want to combine it with something like mint or a little bit of lemon, or, you know, like throwing some of that dehydrated lemon or orange slices that you've got. Very, very good. I personally really love this. Now, this big bowl here, I'm going to go ahead and take some of it out and use it for tea tonight, and the rest I plan to dehydrate for using in teas in the future. You could also use your pineapple weed to infuse oils for adding to salves and anything like that. Typically, when I like to infuse oils with my different topical type herbs, I always go for an avocado oil because it doesn't go rancid the way olive oil can if it's exposed to too much heat. Grapeseed oil is another good choice. I just tend to prefer avocado oil. So also look into other types of oils that might work good for you, that you want to really look at their shelf life and how heat sensitive they are. I just love avocado oil because of that. It's not too expensive, and yet it just has a very long shelf life and can handle high heat, as does coconut oil, but it's harder to infuse things in coconut oil unless you live in a very warm climate and your coconut oil always stays in a liquid form. And if you're interested in learning about infusing some oils, I do have an old video that I'll go ahead and link to right up here, but I do plan on doing some updated videos because, you know, like I've said in previous videos, I'm always learning new things as I go along and then passing this information on to you. I am not an herbalist. I'm not licensed in anything related to medicine. I'm not a doctor. Just understand this. What I share with you are the things that I learn as I go, because I get excited about this stuff and it's always been a passion of mine. And so I learn it on my own and then boom, share it out with you. But also don't trust my own word for it. Look it up for yourself. Make sure when you find your different web pages or books that you cross-reference everything and find some commonalities. Make sure they're not just a copy of another page, but that they're actual research and places that you can trust. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.